This one's going to be a bit of a different one. I'm just going to stand here and I'm going to speak about Black Friday for a minute. I feel like this is a topic that so many years I just constantly think about. For so many years, Black Friday has been one of those days where I've just like had to be so on the ball all the time. And it's one of those times of the year where if you're working in the e-commerce space, like selling clothing online or selling any product through an online space, mostly online, I would say, rather than physical stores. Although I think physical stores is where it started in America. It's how I see it is like you can be a business and it's a bit like the ice cream man syndrome. Black Friday could pay for more in that short space of time than most part of the year could, which is just incredible as like a concept, but it's also really sad. Like looking back, it's kind of like really sad that we all, like as businesses, all fixate on Black Friday. So I guess I'm just coming here out of like a little bit of a reflection time. And this is just me passing thoughts on that I have as somebody who's worked in this industry. And for the first year in 7 is going to be the first year where there's not a focus on Black Friday as such, where we are doing it, but we're not, like I say, this is the rail you see behind is what's online. So there's not loads of things here. I'll have a little look actually just for the sake of while I'm talking. But the thing with Black Friday and what like the biggest problem about it is from like a business standpoint is the same way that Christmas is a problem, right? I was having this conversation recently, not just in my head, I was having it out loud, also to somebody, not just myself. Kind of like, the thing with Black Friday is that it's firstly, it's never ever a day, is it? It's always such a big amount of time beforehand, it's always such a big amount of time, such a build-up, similar to how Christmas is, but it's like, most of the time you just have to outline what the intentions are. If somebody is advertising Black Friday or Christmas a month before, what are they selling? And I think it seems really rich for me to come from this perspective of like, oh yeah, I'm going to preach about how bad Black Friday is, or like how bad it is for the economics of like online selling. But it actually is. Firstly, the biggest misconception that people have is that Black Friday actually has the best deals. And as most people know, you can, with a lot of things, especially like technology and stuff like that, you can find better deals around like the October, September time than you can actually in Black Friday months. But because has all these like super sale connotations, people just believe that it's an absolutely insane steal at the time. I think the curtain's being pulled a little bit, but this was also, I'm just going to keep flicking between, this is also a thing that's kind of like annoying, is, I don't really want to be negative with how I'm saying it, but like, the way that the whole industry gets devalued by a sale, people just will constantly wait for a sale, but it also, how I see it, I'm just looking in, I'm like, look at all these businesses forcibly selling a Black Friday deal, sort of highlights where the industry is. People seem like they're genuinely desperate for sales. And I think that's quite sad, because I think it takes away the art form of selling. I watched and it was recently, and the only reason, who else does this when you go on like a TikTok video and you will, like say you'll see an ad or you'll see a video and the comments are what you're more intrigued by than the content itself. It's like you already know that the underlying theme of what you think about something you've seen is probably going to be reinforced by more people who are also thinking the same thing and commenting it. So I saw this TikTok, shout out to Next. We actually have some cool old school Next items on the site. So they did this TikTok video and they were basically saying, like so a lot of this theme that goes around with like the Black Friday content now is they want to make it feel as organic as possible whilst it's being completely staged. So this like member of staff, like someone from the social media management team, was going around the office with the camera and going up to individual people that were working at Next and was sort of saying like, what are you going to be buying with what are you going to be getting from Next this Black Friday with your paycheck? And all these people that are just at their computers like, I can't wait to buy the next black shirt that comes out that will be this much. And it's like, we're kind of missing the point of what Black Friday is all about. I mean, if you think that, and somebody's comment that caught my attention was, I can't believe it's 2023 and we're in a society where people are getting paid to then just shout about buying stuff from the place that they work. Like, there's nothing wrong with supporting where you work at all. Like, that's more commendable, keeping it within an industry to some respect. But it was like, this video was so forced, and it was like, so obviously they're trying to make this natural thing, spending all this money on it, and you think, it's just not the point, is it? It's just not thought-provoking. It's just sales and just money, and there's no layer to it. And I think the biggest thing with Black Friday, for what I've always been, and I think that looking back on reflection, I would have liked to have done way more campaign work. And what I mean by that is, would have loved to have made more content where I'm actively doing something like, like setting a scene, creating it like something that people can invest in that's just not the sale. Like the brands that I think that do things the best are where they're not trying to directly sell you a product through what they're doing. They're just doing something cool and giving you something, whether it's education, feedback, or value. And as a byproduct of that, you might be interested to go and buy. I find that so much more fascinating because I think that people will invest in what's authentic, and then if they choose to invest in that, as a long-term valued customer, you might get more out of them, or it will be more genuine, rather than so many brands. And I think I've developed like some sort of like, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say like I've developed some sort of like ick, because I don't like that word, but all of the brands that sell similar clothing, like whether it's vintage and secondhand or like any retail, it's just so obviously like a push for sale, but it is just purely directed for selling. And I know you're probably thinking, what's the point in being in business if you're not trying to sell? And I know that, but I just think that there's such a better poetry with approaching that than just doing the bare minimum and expecting people to spend their money. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my thought on that is different. And like I say, I've had many years with Black Friday where we've absolutely killed it, and it has been all about numbers and sales and stuff. And when I look back now, even if I could go back and relive them moments, I would not like go and be back in having a warehouse full of like 50,000 products and doing that. I don't think the fulfillment for what was being done at the time was like transparent and felt by myself doing it. So all I'm really coming to say is that if you're somebody that's selling this Black Friday, you're somebody who's looking to buy something this Black Friday, just have a bit of intention with where you're buying. And if you're selling, you've probably already got all the adverts out, but hopefully you had some sales and some success. But, don't miss the point of what you're actually doing, what you're doing for. My thing now is that, and I'm going to go into it later on down the line, but I'm saving items from landfill, and I want to talk about the importance of the sustainability element whilst selling it at such a smaller scale. I'm not fixated on making loads of thousands of pounds and making loads of sales. In all honesty, I'd love to come here on YouTube and spend more time doing this and telling you about my experience and being genuine about what I've experienced, and feeling free for people to ask me things and I can report back, because I think that that's far more interesting. So, yeah, keep watching if you are, and if you have watched it, then thanks. I will slowly but surely become, firstly, more confident on the camera, secondly, more intentional with what I'm saying. But yeah, this is just going to be raw, uncut conversations, because I think that that's going to sit well with what I'm doing more so. So yeah, all the best, guys. Stay cool. And yeah, I'll never say stay cool again.